I didn't really want to say anything much about this particular conversation because, I guess for some people, or I'll say everybody has a different way that they perceive the issue. Xbox taking Forza Horizon to PlayStation 5 is not new. What is somewhat new that came out of it is the fact that the Forza Horizon version is going to support the little improvements that are available to it on the PS5 Pro. And this has a little bit of, I guess, tinge to it, where some people are talking about how this looks really, in some people's minds, it looks bad for Xbox. In the minds of some other people, it's okay, and so on and so forth. I saw Doug Dark made a video about it. I didn't necessarily listen to too much of the video. Then I saw Sarbrovian make a video where he addressed Doug Dark in terms of that. And I think it's a very easy solution, guys. Doc, you're already a PC gamer, right? Okay, it's time for you to start to, behave like a PC gamer in a sense. I'm not saying you're not behaving like a PC gamer, but this is something that you'll notice. Any game that comes to a hardware piece, right, that has more features, some developers see it as a benefit for them to go ahead and support those features. Say things like frame generation, things like DLSS 4.0. In fact, the new 50s cards are, pretty much in a position where they can do multi-frame generation. Well, some developers would probably not touch it. I've seen some games that show up and some developers just lock their game to 60. Believe you me, Koei Tecmo will lock their game to 60 and walk away. They don't really care about your little features or whatever in some cases. And then in some cases, some other developers will go ahead and, do the whole works. Like in the case of machine games, where with Indiana Jones, they went, full insane with a lot of the different, path tracing and all of the above. So if there's hardware to be leveraged, developers will many times, if they have the opportunity, do that. Because for the most part, on both the console and the PC side, a lot of these different things are actually marketable, pieces to let the game advance and go forward. And Doc eventually came out and actually put this post here. I think on seeing the pre-order numbers, he says, Forza Horizon 5 proves a lot of things, and it validates Xbox's move to go full multi-plat. I ain't mad at them. I mean, there's always been a validation for them to go full multi-platform. In the Xbox One days, when they were getting smoked by PlayStation, what was one of the first things that they did? They went to PC. Afterwards, then they went to Game Pass. From Game Pass, they started to go ahead and, open the door up for more and more integration with PC and cloud and all of the above. And it's just been a smart proposition to make their games available to everybody that they possibly could. However, people have read it, oh, you hurt your brand, you do this for short-term profit, for blah, 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 blah. Most people don't realize that, at the end of the day, this is not one of those things that you do lightly. This is one of those things that you do understanding that I'm going to serve the consumer. Like, you know what I mean? You can root for exclusivity all you want, but this is something where they're going to serve, gamers out there and has the potential for them to be able to make a lot of money at the same time. It's not just a live service game where, someone pulls out microtransactions and makes you a hollow shell of a game or whatever it is. No, it's value proposition being leveraged to actually not just make money, but to make long-term, customers anywhere that you can find them. Now, the next piece of this is, how is this game going to perform on the PlayStation 5 Pro? Because, yeah, we can talk all we want and we can call it all good and whatever, but is the game ready? Is the game going to have frame drops? Is the quality of the game going to be bad? Is it going to create a bad impression to the PlayStation players that play it? That's where Xbox will really, really messed up. They'll really mess up if they don't have this thing in the bag ready to go. So once you think about these layers and you see how all of it is being unfolded, then, you can always say, okay, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I've been on this road since the Hi-Fi Rush days. In fact, once that thing came out, I was like, heck yeah, they need to go ahead and get games like Starfield on there, because there's no reason to sit there with a game where people are not willing to spend. Forza is not in the $500 buy box category. Does that make sense? You could argue that people would buy a box for Marvel Spider-Man 2018. People did. You can argue that people might buy a box for GTA 6. People might. There are people who already said that they will. I've seen their comments on the Video Game Fight School channel. But Forza Horizon is not a box mover. Xbox doesn't have many box mover games. They're coming from Xbox Game Studios, which most of their games, the budget and the comparison of which those you can actually, go ahead and map those games budgets to will be close to AA, maybe low mid-range budget AAA, right? So where were they going to get the console mover games from that are $300 million in development, if you get what I mean? So the box mover games that like I'm mentioning right now, games that actually move people to buy boxes, Xbox doesn't really have many of those games. So if it doesn't have many of those games and it's already reaching a saturation point on its own platform, it makes sense to go PC. Then you reach a saturation point on PC, which is heavily inundated with games. 18,000, almost 19,000 games launched on Steam last year. You go PlayStation. That's just the way to go. And plus, they already said, like we were arguing in the other video, that PlayStation is not really their direct rival. PlayStation and Nintendo is not really their direct rival anymore. It's Amazon and Google and Apple, because those ones are trying to take games to 7 billion people. So Xbox is interested in that. But again, that's all talk, because in an economic reality, they all are fighting for gamers at the end of the day. I guess they're laying the groundwork like PlayStation laid the groundwork. That PC is not their direct, not a threat to them as well. So all of them are basically saying, well, we don't perceive Nintendo to be a threat. That came out from pretty much Shuhei. And then, Totoki came out and said, this is PlayStation's own executives, right? But in reality, whether or not they're a threat to you or not, they realize one fundamental piece. It's not going to be easy for them to be able to go ahead and get gamers to leave the boxes that they own. It's a very weird proposition to expect somebody to go ahead and blow $500, $299, $399, $499, and then buy your game on top of it. And when they buy your game, what are they going to do? Game's going to sit there and collect dust. Or the console's going to sit there and collect dust. It is this proposition that has probably made a lot of people not double dip too much in this generation. And at the end of the day, it's what you're seeing too, where the reports are coming out about the slowdown of the console sales market, right? There just seems to be a slowdown at this moment in time. People are just not convinced that they need to go into this generation just yet. So there's so many things and so many layers here that, the market forces are pulling to. And then another thing is expendable income. Not a lot of people want to blow money or give money to anybody. Things are not easy these days. Interest rates are wild. Eggs are insane. That's a weird thing. But again, we just come out of a weird period. This is not even eggs. I'm just being silly. But we come out of a weird period where, monies are very interesting. If you go look at financial, matters, they showed that in the last few years, consumer credit card debt went up. I mean, that usually can stem from people facing hardships. All of these chips laying in place, your easiest way as a company to be able to earn more revenue is to meet the customer where they are. And Xbox is going and saying, if you're a PlayStation player, spend 70 here or 100. You don't need to spend $500 on this particular game. If they're going to replicate the process for other games, which they will, we'll see how it goes. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I hope we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.